what is the secret to a great audition? Because the reason why I ask you that is because no one ever knows when you open that door what's going to happen in that room.
Be yourself.
Okay.
Walk in and be you. That's all they want to see in the room. And be confident in that. Make a choice, make a bold choice, and stick to it. In most auditions I've booked, it has been making a bold choice and being like, this is what you get today. And if that's not what you want, great, it's not for me. But yeah, being you is key.
Welcome the company of Some Like It Hot. Well, first of all, this musical is so beautifully crafted and the cast is perfection. Come on.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
What is it like living in the world of this Some Like It Hot, and what has made it so special for each of you? Any of you can start. Who wants to start first?
I can start.
Great.
It's so thrilling to be a part of a musical that is really making waves in this time and age. And for me, I know it's such a blessing to be able to have another character of representation for little Black girls out there, you know, and to make it's a monumental move, in my opinion. And the songs we get to sing and just the community that we have is truly something that is unique and something that was really tailor-made for all of us, I think, divinely orchestrated in the most beautiful way.
It's also nice to be part of this season on Broadway because it's literally people have been crawling back. So it's been nice to be part of this season that sort of welcomes everyone back to Broadway, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, to sort of add to that, it was so nice to go into rehearsals like right after the pandemic and to be able to be around people again and be able to do what we love again and all be together. And it was really a joyous process and so much fun to work on. And also, you know, everyone did like a lab first and then pandemic and then a second lab and then Broadway, and everyone pretty much stayed, and it was great. NaTasha joined us later, but yay. But it was great, but also the best part of that was we were able to, you know, build the show around this amazing group of people and ask for their input and, you know, figure out what was best on them, and it really was terrific. It was a great experience.
It was a wonderful opportunity of collaboration and trust and love in the room, creating this project and building it together, and the evolution that we've all experienced. Like you said, having done it pre-pandemic and then having the time away from it and coming back to it with fresh eyes and fresh energy. And it has been such a joy to create this story and tell it 8 times a week with this amazing group of people, truly.
I also wish that we'd had videos, which I don't think we do, of Jay and Christian tap dancing in the first lab, tap dancing now.
We've come a long way.
Long way, and it's awesome. I mean, we didn't know it would take that long, but it was also every time they came back, not to like learn tap, even though it was 4 years, but seriously, every time they came back from pandemic or from an in between lab and rehearsals, they were so much better each time because they got to the time to absorb it. Well, maybe I didn't say all that right, but they're amazing.
Oh, you did. Right.
I'll just jump in and say as well, it's just been an amazing experience. This audition was my first, the callback was my first in-person callback or audition since the pandemic. So it was just thrilling to be able to go into the room and then to meet these fantastic creatives in the room was extraordinary for me. And I thought I was just gonna enjoy the show just because it was an opportunity to get back to work. But because we got back to work with such an intentional piece that is decidedly one of my favorites now because of its inclusivity and how it creates space for everyone, not just in our building, in the theater building, but for the audience. I think it is an extraordinary opportunity. So I just get to have fun and play and work every day. So it's just a blessing,
Who wants to go next?
We all have to go. Okay. No, for me, I think it's just been just a delightful surprise. Every turn of this this journey of this, I just said journey. We're going to say journey a lot today.
Yes, you need to see magic.
Drinking game every time someone says journey.
Every twist and turn of this development of this piece has just been such an incredible, wonderful surprise. You know, he said, we started it like 4 years ago with like the first reading or something. And you know, it was lovely. It was very exciting and it was fun. And, you know, you sort of think, well, I don't know, maybe something will happen with this. Who knows? And then the world shuts down and everybody gets depressed and sits in their room and thinks, will I ever get out of this room again? And then the first thing coming back was a reading of the new script where they said, we're all going to be 6 feet apart. We're going to have masks on. We're going to have the windows open, you know. And so we walk in there. Everybody's a little nervous. And Marc starts singing and playing these songs on the piano. And it was just like a blossom of a flower, just like life coming back. And since then, it's just been a glorious ride. And the fact that we are on Broadway with this show that is just like, you know, bringing such delight to people and to us, frankly, it's just been an incredible turn of events. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
So sweet. And at the Schubert Theater, it's incredible to be in the Schubert. Schubert Alley's so special. I remember first moving to town that the gift shop right there, buying the libretto to Sweeney Todd in that little shop in Schubert Alley. So it has a lot of nostalgia for me. Spamalot was 18 years ago in that theater, and it's so surreal. I was on the 4th floor, now I'm on the 2nd floor. That feels fun. But, you know, we're in the stage now. We opened December 11th, right? And, you know, we developed it for years, and we rehearsed it. We went through previews, and then we opened. And I can only speak for myself, but, like, I was still, like, nervous and didn't quite understand the whole story. We were just, like, so excited to be doing it. And now it's late May, and it's spring, and we've seen the whole season, and we've celebrated with our friends. And for me, I think I'm just now starting to understand the rhythm of the show, and we're all finding new things. It's getting funnier. It's staying true.
Thank you.
Because, no, I think there's something sweet and fundamental about the story, that it is a true story and that it speaks emotional truth, and people care about telling this story. So we never get out of control with it, or I don't think we get hoggish with it, because we care about it so much that we want to present the best version of the show. But yeah, we're like finding new things, and the show is kind of telling us where to hit the gas and where to, like, that might be too much. And we're self-policing, which is rare, but it speaks again to the quality of the material. You get to just walk out on stage and do these songs and this script, and it's a treat.
And it's pretty amazing, especially as a director. After 6 months, it's almost 6 months, right? It is 6 months. 6 months, a lot of times actors get really big and start getting false in their roles. And
But they started that way. So.
Nowhere to go.
But it hasn't changed in this show. Everyone is really playing with each other in the right ways, and it's pretty incredible and so great to see. It really is.
Marc, do you want to say something that's made it so special for you?
It's all special. I mean, you know, we're just so lucky to get to do it and to have careers. For Scott and I, we've been doing this for 3,000 years. Next week, as a matter of fact, they're having an event at Marie's Crisis Piano Bar. Scott and I are going to go there and play songs because that's where we met in 1976.
I like to say that was the year of the tall ships and Legionnaire's disease, Son of Sam, and Marc Shaiman. We met in Marie's Crisis, so we're going to go back to Marie's Crisis and sing through some tunes.
I love that. What was it? I mean, you didn't know each other. You were both there. Were you playing Marc the piano? Like, how did you two, like, say?
Poor Scott's heard this story so much.
I'll tell it. No.
I was still a kid from New Jersey. I had gotten my GED, my good enough diploma. So I wasn't in school anymore, and I wanted to go to New York. Anyway, I was there with some friends to see an off-Broadway show, ironically called Boy Meets Boy. at the Actors Playhouse. We ran into some other friends from New Jersey right there on the corner, and we just ran into this little place that was right there. And there was a piano, and I was 16 years old and full of vim and vigor, and started playing. And just like out of an old black and white movie, the bartender was sweeping up, and he stopped. John Michelle. And he said, hey, kid, you're good. Wait right here. And he went, and Scott was directing a comedy act at the Duplex. The original Duplex. And so Scott and his 4 friends came, and they were standing on that stairway. And they said, can you play Together Wherever We Go cheesy? And I went, oh, you mean like at a bar mitzvah? So I knew their sense of humor right away, and I played Together Wherever We Go cheesy, and they were like, you're hired. And that's how we met.
I've never heard that story before.
It is. It's true.
You're the only one.
I'm the only Well, we'll all come down for the anniversary. When are you going down there to do this?
It's next Thursday?
June 6th, I think it is.
June 6th, Marie's Crisis. That's where you want to be, on there. For Casey, Marc, and Scott, talk about the wonderful idea of switching the time frame of the show from the 20s to the 30s and what that switch opened up for you as creators to tell this brand new story.
Well, I think it was about more stakes, you know, and also the idea of ending the show with the lifting of prohibition. And sort of, because we also didn't want to suddenly, we didn't want it to, you know, we've seen 30 Modern Millie and stuff. We didn't really want it to be flappers and that kind of feel, like the film was. And so that's what it basically came out of it.
But it also changed the musical vocabulary as well. So it was a different time. Musically, it was a different time.
Anyway, there was some way to make an adjustment to make it not exactly like the movie, so that it wasn't just like a carbon copy or a Xerox. Because we have learned from all ways to learn that you just can't do that. You know, you have to explore and change, and so that was one thing.
And the Depression too. You know, that was a big part of it. And costumes. Greg was like, please don't set it in the 20s.
The costumes, for those of you who have not seen this show, you need to see this. The costumes in this show are spectacular. I mean, Greg Barnes did such a beautiful job. For the cast, do you remember the first time you saw yourselves done up? Either as Joe and Jerry or Daphne and Josephine, because I'm sure that was totally different for you two at the end. And for the ladies and Kevin, when you first saw yourself made up in costume and wigs and everything, what went through your minds that first time?
She cute. She cute. Honestly, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, Greg Barnes knows how to, he knows the way, I don't want this to sound some type of way, but he understands the human body and how to formulate clothing to not only reflect the character, but also to reflect you. And that was such an honor to like get to wear his stuff every single night. Yeah, I think my first costume that I had ready and able to put on was the one at the train station that Sugar comes out in her first appearance, and talk about feeling just beautiful, just powerful, and just feeling like I am a woman, you know, like he brought out the woman in me. Sometimes I can be like, oh no, a little girl, no, you know, like I just get a little, you know, try to hide, but he's like, you're not gonna hide in this. So it's been a real journey, like spiritual journey. Oh my God, with costumes, that's an artiste, okay?
Yeah, Greg Barnes takes such care with everyone, from swings, understudies. He like takes such care and attention to who you are. We were having conversations during the pandemic about he was watching the workshop videos and formulating these costumes based on the work I was doing in the workshop, and really building these costumes to help tell the story. And so all of those fittings, we would leave fittings, both of us, in tears of just excitement and joy and the ability to bring this to life. They just showed me a swatch of the beading on my lapel for my finale dress, and I fully like burst into tears. Just the way it caught light and the evolution I get to take in the show, it just showed me that literal and figurative glimmer of light that I was excited to share with audiences. So yeah, Greg Barnes is a living legend and amazing.
And also the pandemic had shut so many shops down. And so I would see Greg in the basement of the Schubert Theaters sewing sequins himself for hours.
Such a huge part of it too is the wigs by Josh Marquette.
Yes.
And I remember the first time, because I'd been using rehearsal wigs for Josephine. And rehearsal wigs were helpful in terms of choreography, but not in terms of feel or getting people to focus, because
Keeping hair out of your eye, too. Right?
yeah.
There was a lot of hair in the
But when I put on my real wig, I was like, okay, this I buy this, and also like, okay, that's my mother.
Yeah. That's how I felt. I felt like I put on my costume and my wig and the whole shebang. I first saw a glimpse of it because Greg Barnes does these paintings of your characters that were just exquisite. And that's when I cried, when I saw the painting of Sue's character. But when I actually put it on, I saw my aunties and my mother, and I felt like, I know who this woman is. I know who she should be, and couldn't wait to sort of bring those spirits up in what the costumes allowed me to feel with them. So that was great.
Beautiful.
That's one of my favorite moments in the show is when you come out in your final, that purple. That is so exquisite, and you look so spectacular, and it's such a great ride up into that. I almost said journey.
And NaTasha inspired that costume too, because when we did the lab, she just pulled all these clothes from her wardrobe at home, and she one night just like burst out in this purple outfit. We're like, whoa, what just happened? And it was great. And Greg was like, we gotta keep that. We have to keep that feeling. It was so great. I loved it.
Kevin, the first time for you when you're Sir Osgood.
Well, I mean, I don't get to wear all the really fancy stuff, but I was like, he's going to turn this into a millionaire? Good luck. And I saw this, I saw the sketch that he had, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to pull this off. Like, this is this debonair, looking guy on his sketch. And so I do remember looking at myself in the mirror going like, I can't believe it. I'm a millionaire. Look at that. I look like $1 million. Wow.
I love that. You know, and for the cast, how that switch opened up the musical to greater diversity, which is so beautifully done in this show. For Adrianna, Jay, and NaTasha, talk about the impact of basic representation and how special these roles mean to each of you. So beautifully written, so beautifully executed. Who wants to start? Jay.
I mean, again, talk about the growth and the journey we've had with this. It has been such a delight, even from that first reading I did in 2019 to where we have ended up with the project. It just, we've all grown so beautifully together. And the conversation remained open at all times to collaboration and making sure that there were things that I say in my real life that found their way into the script that I would come in and be like, oh, okay, work. It just helps me ground that much more to be able to resonate and to be able to tell the story. And from that, I have moments at the stage door with so many queer and trans and non-binary people who are like, thank you for the representation. Thank you for allowing me to see a part of myself on stage, to see my humanity, to see my existence in such a beautiful way, for this part of myself that I can't explain, or people who are starting that journey for themselves and don't know how to find that language, and now they see a way to continue on in life. And that is not something I take lightly. It is something that I am grateful to have this opportunity to share this journey, to be that representation and to be that light and that hope for people.
Yeah, beautifully put, beautifully put. Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll jump in. Can I ask you to repeat the question, though?
The impact of basic representation.
Oh, yes. I knew I had something to say. This show it's been the impact. The impact of the show for me has been extraordinary in that we can no longer do theater the way we've been doing theater. It will not survive. The audiences are not wanting the same type of shows, the same messages. And the fact that there is room and space for everyone, and it doesn't, just because I'm represented and I'm not a person that you would normally see in this particular, leading this band in this particular time period, the fact that I'm there allows the growth and expansion of our audience to just get even wider and embrace one another. So I think the impact is not even fully felt But our creatives have been so intentional about including people, diversity, all of those things that are these buzzwords now that they were thinking about 7 years ago, when they started the idea of this production. But I think that the impact hasn't fully been felt, but I'm so grateful that we are opening doors and opening eyes to people that see, wow, that's just like me, even though I'm not just like them. I'm not just like her, I'm not just like him, but I can see and I can feel that there is space and room for everyone. So I hope that continues to be the impact, because without it, our theater will die. Without opening our minds to the way things used to be and understanding that things have to change, it will not exist much past the 2023. So I'm so grateful that this show has been a part of that change and been a part of pushing the idea that we all belong and that we all have a voice and validity in presentation. So that's what I'm most grateful for about this production.
Yeah, just to tag along to what NaTasha was saying about belonging, I always tell this story when I think about this role in particular. Back in college, there was an assignment that we had of like, okay, if you are the prototype of someone that's now on Broadway, who would you be? And I felt so stuck. I was this girl who didn't know anything about musical theater, and I came in and I was like, well, I guess I'm a mix of random people. I guess I'm a mix of Patti LuPone with Lillias White. I don't know. Like, I had no answer for that. And a girl in the class was like, well, Adrianna's she's going to be an originator. And that is a dream of mine, to be able to do that today. And there's a line in the show that Sugar says, she's like, I am already the first sugar cane. And my professor recently saw the show and he was like, Adrianna, always remember that. I remember seeing you and they would put me in things. I was like, guys, I can't play Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. I can't do this, I can't do that, because the spectrum was very much like, especially with the knowledge that I had of musical theater, I was like, either I'm an Audra McDonald or I am a Jennifer Holliday, and I don't fit anywhere. But the beauty of this character is like I said earlier, is that it's such a blessing to be around such beautiful cultivators who actually challenged me to have a voice in whoever I wanted Sugar to be. I'll never forget Casey and Matt coming up to me and saying, Adrianna, we don't want you to play Marilyn Monroe. We want you to be you. And I thought, oh, my world just opened up, and there was less pressure about it. But to be able to stand on that stage and see little girls out there and be like, I know what it feels like to like look up and be like, oh my gosh, I can do it. I remember what it was like to see Brandy play Cinderella and how much that it really impacted me. And now I get the chance to fill my own shoes and be who I am fully and completely without apologizing. That was a huge milestone for me in my life, especially being in an industry where it's tempting to want to become a cookie cutter version of something that already works. But thank God you have people that you see up here who understand that life is way bigger than what has been taught to you. It is bigger than, the world is massive. There's so many different types of people. And if I get to represent that in the smallest fraction and it touches the lives of people, whoever they are in the audience, I want to do that. And this show provides that for me.
Beautiful.
I mean, that really is the really great thing about how they handled diversity in this show is that they didn't just check boxes. It wasn't just like, okay, we'll have a black sugar cane. They allowed it to affect the narrative. They changed the story to allow for that. I think that is one of the greatest things to come of this is to really see that it's not just about casting somebody in a traditionally white role because it's been played by a white person before. But if you're going to have a black person there, if you're going to have somebody of color in this role, it's going to affect the story. And the writers need to take that into consideration as well. And I think that's like, I love that happened with our show.
Yeah. Christian, do you want to add anything to this?
Nope.
Well, this gets into the creators now. Talk about Matthew Lopez and Amber Ruffin's updated approach to the story. The book is so beautifully written for this musical. I mean, that you were able to take, sort of what the movie was based on and just turned up upside down and make this whole new story.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Matthew, because he, especially as we started work, he was very often kind of like the traffic cop of saying, no, you can't say that, or don't do that, or why do we want to do that? How about we do this? And so he was, extremely a part of the kind of decisions that we're all talking about. But it was very like piece by piece by piece. And like when NaTasha came into audition, we had every race, color, and size women came in, like Debbie Gravitt and Randy Graff and NaTasha, and that was kind of also great that we just kind of said, now that we're actually auditioning for this role, let's just let it be totally open and let the person who we cast define what it's going to be. And thank God she walked in.
Also, too, I mean, I knew that I wanted to be sure it didn't feel like a revival or it didn't feel like, a show that you were seeing regionally or something. I wanted to make sure it had its own personality, that it felt like it was contemporary and modern, even though it was still classic and retro, and that it sort of bridged the gap. And I think we've been successful with that, because I feel like, I've gotten emails from people saying, oh my God, I loved the show. I went with my dad and his wife and my son, and it's just and they said everybody loved it. And I think that we've managed to, without going like, we got to please everyone, we've managed to have everyone relate to it in one way or another, no matter what their generation is. And I think that's a big, I feel so happy with that, and so glad to hear people say that.
That's beautiful. Scott, you want to add something to this?
No, I'm just to say that I'm the oldest person on this creative team. And so I was the one who was stuck in the movie. So it took Matthew and Casey and to wean me off of it, and obviously to better effect, because I grew up. I might have seen that movie when it came out. So it was, I was.
Well, you were very, very.
I was very young. Yeah.
But alive. Also, I mean, we had this kind of good thing in that there already was a musical, Sugar, written by the giants of musical theater. And so without in any way dishing it, we always knew, well, let's not do what they did in Sugar. As we could. It was just like what Casey's saying. How do we find a new way to tell this story? Because there was no reason to repeat what they had done on Sugar. So we had like this I didn't know that show. So every now and then I say, Scott, play me 5 seconds of what the song was, just to make sure our idea of what the song could be was, something different, something to the left.
I, of course, had seen it.
So he played more than 5 seconds for you, right?
I wouldn't let him, because it sticks.
Well, that's what I want to get into you two. When you were working on the score, who were some of the artists and the musical sounds that inspired you during the writing process? The score to this is flawless. I told you, it stays on repeat in our house every day. I mean, it's so beautiful. So what were the sounds you had in your head of the 30s and that whole sound?
Well, we have both worked with Bette Midler, and so she's like we used to call her the Margaret Mead of American music. So she would, so a lot of the things that I've been exposed to were from Bette and Marc, and we listened to all those things, the Boswell sisters and and all of that. But the great thing this was to write these kind of beautiful torch songs for Adrianna, which was when Harold Arlen was writing for Ethel Waters, and it was a great melding time actually, where these Jewish composers were writing for black artists, and so that influenced a lot of what was in our heads.
Scott's 10% Jewish on his manager's side. But Jimmy Lunsford and Louis Jordan and Fats Waller and there's and Cole Porter. That's the era that we kind of wish we had lived in and could have gone. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going to the Cotton Club and hearing those people, singing these songs for the first time? Oh my God. So we just kind of write what we want to see. And
First we wrote what Casey wanted to see.
eventually, it's always what Casey wants to see. Yeah.
He's the only director we've ever worked with who I didn't mind when he said, "What else you got?"
But it's very meaningful to me in this world where, rightfully so, women should be writing plays about women, and black playwrights should be writing about the black experience, but that we old white men don't get left behind, because to be able to write like the song Nickel Matinee for Sugar, that's completely about representation, and feel like we as writers have figured out how to write that for the actress to be able to perform it so beautifully every night. I'm really happy that we are all that family, that we can share in that.
The collaboration on this musical is flawless. And, it doesn't happen all the time, when director and playwrights and songwriters and everybody on your team comes together to make something that's perfect, which this show is. And I was wondering, when you three sat together with Matthew and then Amber came in, what were the early conversations you had about tone and feel about the show? Because it's perfect.
Honestly, it's been so long, it's hard to remember. But it was all of us, it was the four of us first, just sitting there. But I'm getting a little emotional.
It's okay.
Here. But I will say, with you guys talking about Cole Porter and all the songs, I feel like I get to live that with you guys, and I really mean that. The way they write for musical theater is what I like, and the kind of thing I like to go see. So to get to do this with them is just an absolute joy for me and a dream come true. So that was part of all of the first part of this, is getting to having you guys write these songs and then have them show up in my inbox. I would just be like, oh my gosh, and I would just sit on the couch and listen by myself, and it was heaven. It was absolute heaven. But we really worked well together. We really worked well. That we did it little by little, and got rid of stuff and added more stuff. And it went through so many changes because we didn't really know the tone of the show. We knew lots of things we didn't want it to be, but we also didn't really know what we did want it to be yet at the beginning. And that was part of it, trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right up until opening night, we really, it never stopped until we had to.
But that's
God bless you.
Yeah. No, but that's when the audience comes in, and that's what Casey does best as a director choreographer. You listen to the audience and you hone your show. So for the cast, these roles are so beautifully written for all of you up here. What's it like living in these roles and what you wanted to bring to them personally? The kind of conversations you all had. Any of you down there can start first. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll just say, first of all, too, on top of everything else, the craft and the eye, one of Casey's great strengths is in casting a troupe of people that can lift each other up and be there for each other over the course of a long run, because there's no room for bad behavior. Nobody is that talented that you can be like, well, they're amazing, but they're a total asshole. And so there's no room for assholes in this company. And I've literally not seen a crossword backstage between it. And it's just, again, a testament to the group of people that you put together. So if you remove any kind of drama, then all that's left is for us all to just show up. And Jay and I often say to each other, life is life, and you show up to do a musical, and we're very lucky. I feel so lucky that this is what I get to do for a living. But sometimes you're a little tired. And we look at each other and just say, one foot in front of the other, and we just start the show. And as soon as it starts and we come through these double doors, it's just a ride. It's so well crafted that we just have to just keep talking and keep tapping and then just keep changing clothes. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves at the very end and we stare across each other. There's, the little door that opens in the back, and we have the last bow together, and we look at each other, and then we just kind of lean out, and then before you know it, we're looking at each other and bowing, and it's all happened so fast, and it's all been so fun, and there's been so much laughter. And also the great thing about doing musicals is there's a show behind the show. And so what the audience sees is, there is a proscenium, and just off the proscenium, there's somebody standing right there, sometimes putting on a puppet show for the people on stage. Or as we make a cross behind, there's a whole play that happens behind the scenes. And so Both stories are working very well at the Schubert Theater.
But we had the great treat of a few people had been out of the show during the performances, and Casey had to go on in the show. So he might want to share that experience with you.
Well, he got to play Spats in the show. Yeah, let's hear it for Casey Nickolaw, performer.
It was kind of crazy because I was in shows as a performer, and I hadn't said a line on stage in 20 years. And I was trying to get my associate to go on stage and play Adam Heller's part, and he was like, absolutely not. And then someone was like, well, you should do Spats. I was like, oh God, well, I could. And then everyone was like, well, you're doing it. And, it was absolutely horrifying the first couple nights, like really horrifying. Like I might have forgotten a cue. I might have yelled fuck on stage and then apologized to the audience. It was really, really sort of nerve-wracking. But by the end of it, I just had the best time. And like being on stage with everyone, I'm sorry, Christian and I didn't get to do it together. But being on stage with everyone, it was so fun to see the show from what the angle you're talking about, and also to see backstage. Like people would come off stage from the opening number just like and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. And then just Mark Latito, who I was on for, had ripped a calf muscle, and he says, I'm going to come back. I'm coming back Tuesday. And after doing it, I was like, you are not coming back Tuesday because you're going to hurt yourself. I was so out of breath. I was like, it was crazy, but it was so much fun to be on stage with everyone. It was amazing. I never thought that would ever happen, and I never wanted it to happen again, but it was awesome.
For the cast, what was it like having him in the show?
Thrilling. It was so good.
Delightful.
I love it.
Truly.
Delightful, yeah.
It was a little nuts. to
Thrilling
be
and
honest.
terrifying,
It was
too. Terrifying,
a little
too.
crazy. I mean, good crazy, but just fun to look over and see him.
He's
running
the director. He's the
Like,
director.
Dad's on stage with us. Oh God.
Casey.
But it was
wait.
also wonderful to support him the way everybody supports each other in this company, regardless. It was that thing of like, we got you. Come on in. Like,
They did. It was seriously like the first couple nights. It was like LaGuardia back there that I get off stage and someone would be going like, I ran over there, and then they go like. It was nuts. But I was always struck that everyone's faces were so close to mine. I'm so used to being on the house and watching them up there like I'm watching TV or something. And I was on stage. I'm like, oh, Jay's right there. Right there. Hi.
Because I remember, I think I saw you the first night you were on. I saw you in Schubert Alley with your flowers and all, and you're like, oh my God. You were like, I was backstage, going through cue cards of dialogue, right?
Gosh, people want to talk to me. And I'm like, mm-mm. Oh, you couple fellas. And it's just like going through my lines over and over and over.
That is wonderful. I want to talk to you, Casey, about your work is glorious. How did dancing change after World War I, and what dance styles influenced you for the show?
Oh, well, a lot of the stuff, what's funny is, I did all kinds of research for the traditional dances that were done then. Some of the Lindy, some of that stuff. And what's great is, or not great, is authenticity is not necessarily theatrical. So I would think about the movies I love, like the old Hoofers and Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, and also the Ginger Rogers Fred Astaire numbers I really loved. And there was a number that these guys wrote for Christian and Adrianna in Act 2 that was going to be like a fantasy sequence. And everyone knows the traditional Fred and Ginger, cheek to cheek kind of dance. And I found in Swing Time this really playful tap number, and I was like, I'd rather do that. And I think that would be more fun, especially knowing the two of you. And I think it works beautifully. And it just was really fun. A lot of Lindy. Yeah. That's what the opening number is.
Because I want to talk to the cast about, you mentioned tap dancing early on. Who are the best tap dancers up here? Who would have worked the hardest? It's flawless. You're all so flawless in this show, but I was like...
Well, clearly, I'm the best tap dancer in the show. And the reason I don't do it in the show is because the levels would be off. So it's just not. So they've just decided to keep that under wraps for me.
Thank you.
There.
oh. I will say I never imagined tapping like I'm tapping 8 times a week on Broadway. But I'm an artist who loves to meet a moment and rise to the occasion. And so I love that Casey was very intentional about making the time for Christian and I to like go into a room, just the two of us, during our workshops in the labs to like, nope, go over these steps and like make the time to do the thing and get together and create that chemistry and that relationship. But tapping and, as Damaris would say, in a pump is a whole different thing. Like the whole rehearsal, I was doing it in a flat and then got the heels when we got. And that was a different thing. But yet again, it was just another moment to rise to the occasion. And it's been a fun challenge to just have fun and give into it and be like, all right, what are we doing? What's the story? And be truthful.
Yeah, Casey is a master at drawing out the gold in you, truly. Like he does it so well. Like he'll push you to where you're like, I don't know if I can do this 8 shows a week, which is great to challenge you to like face yourself and see what you can actually do. Because I know me, I can get real comfortable when it comes to dancing. I love to move. I love to do all the things. But this was like, I know from the workshop, whenever we did the original number with me and Christian, it was like a pas de deux, more of a, I gotta try to, did I kick my face? I don't kick my face. I can't kick my face. I'm not that type of dancer at all. But the type of dancer is like, oh my gosh, I have to turn. Like you want him to turn me, like hold my hand and turn me around. I get freaked out about stuff like that. So when he actually changed it to the tap, I said, hey man, I can do the tapping. I could actually tap better than all of that stuff. But it was such a rising to the occasion thing. It was like, okay, if we do this 8 shows a week, you're going to take dance classes. You're going to do this because he actually has shown you that what is in you that you didn't even know that you had. And that's been the dance journey with this show for me, at least.
Remember the suitcases?
Yep.
God.
Wait,
That was a cute dance, though.
And up and down.
And I have to tell you, I was backstage just the other night, and I saw this is show business wrapped up in a perfect paragraph. When Adrianna is about to make her entrance as Sugar, and she has this wonderful moment where the suitcases part, and she comes out, but on her way on stage, she's like has to go like this behind the suitcases. I was like, that is showbiz. Like, yes.
Hammer. It's funny too because really at the beginning there was only one tap number. It was the tap number for the 2 guys, and then we sort of added some in Take It Up a Step, but it just kept being the vocabulary of the show, and we just added more and more. And then the chase that happens in Act 2. Pre-pandemic, when we did the lab, it was just people running, and then during the pandemic, I thought, oh my God, we all got all this tap. It would be great to sort of have it all culminate in all of the stories coming together with a tap number. And that's how it happened.
And talk about the language of the choreo in the show and us finding the show and it settling and hearing audiences see and receive that every night in such a beautiful way. Of like Christian and I do that tap chase in Act 1, and it gives you the hint of what's coming later, and the audience really does go on this ride with us, and they're with it, and it is just so beautiful to feel them receive it every night and see it in such a beautiful way, and you're like, oh, you really are on this journey with us, and it is so exhilarating because you're like, this is exhausting, but as long as y'all are with us, wonderful. It makes it all worth it. It really is.
And no discussion of this show and the dancing. You have to mention Glenn Kelly, who is the most brilliant guy, our dance arranger, underscorer. I mean, he is truly the glue that is, bonding us all. And his work in the show is just fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Christian, tap dancing for you. You all make it seem so effortless.
I got better.
They carry me, just to say that.
Not true.
We
We carry each other.
That's true. That's true. But you make more sounds than I do. When I replaced Bert in Mary Poppins, I was like the 4th Bert. And, and step in time is hard to do. And it's a lot of tapping. And at one point I had to do like a solo where I sat on a chimney center stage and the entire cast just goes... me, and I was really bad. And Sam Strassfeld, who's one of the greatest tappers on Broadway, was in the ensemble, and he would sit stage right on a chimney, and they turned his tap mics on, and he would mimic my moves, and I would... And Sam would just be like... It was so good. I never got good at that one. But I'm getting better at this one. It feels really good, and I feel okay about it.
Clap, go right. It's effortless. I mean, there's show-stopping moments in the show when you do the tapping. All right, now for all of you, the chase in the second act. How long is that? How long is the chase? How long?
5 minutes and 17 seconds. Yes, I haven't counted that, but literally there are people in the cast who are like, no, it's 5 minutes and 17 seconds of pure like running around. Yeah.
So when Casey told you all that this is what we're going to do in the second act, the taps are all coming back for everybody. You know, what went through your minds? And like, how long did you rehearse
This will
that?
never work.
There's a lot of this.
Oh yeah, we were like, oh, this will change when we get on stage. Oh yeah. This is no. This is ever, and then we made it work.
How long is tech gonna be?
Right.
That's what went through my mind. That's tech. They're gonna tech this for weeks.
When we did that lab,
Right.
we rehearsed the entire show, did the entire show, and then we were done, and we were like, yay! And he was like, now next week we're gonna work on this chase, and we were like, what? We just did the whole show, and he's
In
like,
3 weeks.
yeah, in 3 weeks we're gonna use the last week, the whole week.
Yeah,
work
we
on
did.
this thing.
Because I didn't know how it was going to be or how it was going to work out. I mean, that was, speaking of this, I thought, well, this is really risky. This could just be awful, and audiences won't go with a whole idea of suddenly, you know, wrapping up all the storylines through dance, you know? And I thought, what on earth will we do? I did keep myself up at night. I was like, what on earth will we do if this doesn't work? Because then we're going to have to write scenes and we're going to have to come up with, you know, all kinds of other stuff. But the first preview, I kind of couldn't believe it, you know, and we just kept, but over the period of like 4 years or whatever, since we did the 1 week one to where it is now, we just kept, like, we cut here and then we added there. And I was like, I just kept asking, what story beats are we missing? I didn't feel like, you know, I'd taken care of Christian and Adrianna enough. So we added a little thing there and just kept, you know, maneuvering it and moving things around so that we could figure out what was going to tell the story the best.
That's also when you really trust the director, because if you guys could see things from our point of view, it looks like chaos. I mean, it just looks like people are just running around like Muppets with their hands in the air, and doors are flying everywhere, and it doesn't look like anything. And then, you know, during tech, I got to set out and watch like the lighting of it and think, oh, there's a story being told. I can see it. It's all happening right there. But we see none of that.
Yeah, I remember once during tech that some of the dancers are sitting in the wings while we were staging stuff, and they were watching something and laughing. I was like, "What are you guys looking at?" They're like, "The chase!" Like they had never seen it, and they were watching it and laughing and crying and everything, and it was like so much fun to watch them because they had never seen it, because they were just running around and taking notes and doing all that kind of stuff.
For the cast, it's so brilliant to watch. Like I said, this is 4 times I've seen your show already. Last week you were like 12 inches off the floor, just having the time of your lives. The first time you did that chase and you got through it like with an audience, what went through your minds?
Well, my fingers were bleeding at the time, so our first preview, I literally got my fingers slammed in a door. The bruise just grew out. Like literally just grew out. And my fingers got slammed in the door. And my first thought was, I've got to put on a white dress for the finale. But yet there were 5 minutes to go of this number. But it was exhilarating to finish that number, and the audience, like, I say that's when we edge the audience. They're like, and then they get this moment to just be like, because it's so incredible. It's wild. And every night I think we all are like, we did that. Okay, yeah. You see, I get excited just talking about it.
That number is brilliant, and it's like, you know, as we were working on it and given the pieces of, okay, on this beat or this number or this word, you're coming out, you're gonna run here, and you're gonna yell this person's gonna come here, and you're crossing, you gotta catch this skirt, and you gotta blah, 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 and he's gonna change clothes. And all of these pieces, you know, get added together. The first night when we did it for the audience, all I could think about was how brilliant it is, how brilliant that number is, that separately we come together to tell this story, and it's orchestrated in such a magnificent way that while we're doing it, like you said, we don't even know what it looks like. We just know by beat 3, you better be here or you're gonna get hit with the door. You know, we lost some fingers and some toes in putting it together. But once it comes together, it's just amazing that all of these beats work together to tell this story and move the audience. it's brilliant. That's what I thought.
But we also we have to work together, So everybody has to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It falls apart. And so it really is kind of a testament to, how much the cast believes in the show and really wants to put the best foot forward, and everybody wants to rise to the occasion and do justice to the show that we love. So I always feel like everybody's just in it to really, like, nobody wants to let anybody down, let the show down. Everybody wants to make it as great as it can be.
There's no wing space, you guys, either. Just so you know, like on stage, we have made it into a dance, and moments of being goofy and moments like, okay, you need to get on stage. It's fantastic. I know at the beginning though, I was so happy that Casey told me I didn't have to wear tap shoes and the Ride Out the Storm number to go into this, because that wouldn't have been cute. Like, to have a clickety clack while I'm singing this amazing 2 a.m. number, I call it. It's not even an 11 o'clock number. That's my first song. So it's amazing, and like thinking like you have to run around in a gown. And hold the doors, turn the doors, make sure you don't get caught in the door with the gown. It's fantastic. And to be able to do it every night, I'm like, I told you, he pulls it out of you. You're like, didn't know I could do this, but here we are. No sweat.
Yeah. Christian, the first time you did that, or what you enjoy the most about the big chase scene?
There is a moment where I get to doff my tap heels and throw on loafers, and it's a triumphant, exultant moment in a quick change booth stage right.
Comfortable
In a quick
shoes.
change booth stage right, incidentally, is the name of my memoir coming out this fall from Bantam Books.
Yeah. For the creators, when you saw that chase done the first time with a live audience, because they just clap all during the number. We're just, it's just so wonderful. What was it like for you three?
There's just nothing better than making an audience happy.
Yeah.
There's just nothing better. And this number, makes people freak the fuck out,
Yeah. Yeah.
And once again, I got to mention Glenn Kelly,
Yeah.
who took all of our songs. It took me weeks and weeks, maybe months, to kind of keep realizing every measure of that is a theme from a song or an accompaniment figure from a song, and how he has so brilliantly worked with Casey to be telling that story, but to do it with all the the elements.
It's like an overture in the second act.
I mean, I just, I'll just go to my grave just talking about what Glenn Kelly achieved with that.
Is that number on the cast album?
It's not, for a few reasons that we can talk about.
Sorry to bring it up.
Yeah. No.
Oh, it's like an Easter egg then. People can listen to the album and then they come see the show. They're like,
Yeah. There's
great.
got to be something that is just pure for on stage.
Yeah.
I also didn't want to diminish it by not getting the whole thing.
Right.
The songs on the cast album, you're getting it.
Yeah.
You're getting the whole picture.
Yeah.
But with that, it would be like we're missing.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like
so much of a visual.
Yeah, it's like a human body without all the proper organs.
Yeah. I like that. Casey, for you, the first time you saw that in front of an audience?
Well, I was relieved. I mean, that's what I said. I had no idea how it was going to go, and I was really relieved, and then super surprised, and then I probably sobbed.
Totally. For Scott and Marc, you conjure up the era through your sensational lyrics. Who are the inspirations? I mean, the lyrics that the two of you write for this show are so brilliant. Who are your inspirations?
Everyone, and then ourselves.
yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of research, and
Yeah.
so I'm the research guy, but or the procrastinator, if you want.
Yeah.
But I like the slang books from the period, and I watched a lot of Jimmy Cagney movies, and I read Al Capone books, and words just sort of came out. But if you were to ask me, like, I like Dorothy Fields, I wouldn't, Cole Porter, Yip Harburg. I mean, those are the lyricists to that.
Yeah.
And I was unfortunately never taught to read, so Fats Waller, Jimmy Lunsford. Once again, just that brilliant era where they could say everything a human being wants to say to another person and never have to say a dirty word.
Yeah.
And never, just to be able, which is not like me in real life, you may have noticed already, but, to be able to communicate with that wonderful boundary of wanting to keep it elegant and not have to go blue or Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
No, not at all. You know, I've asked you both before, how do you go about writing a song? Is it a word, a phrase, a melody? How do you two work together?
Well, it starts with the character. That's the first thing, and the story. So everything comes from character and story. And then we sit in the room together. We literally have been doing it for almost 45 years. We sit in a room across from each other and hammer away at it. In the beginning, it's terrifying. It's just absolutely terrifying. And I always say this, that, you know, the movie The Shining, well, it's about writing. All work and no play. That's how you feel in the beginning. But then finally, you know, things start to materialize and thoughts come. It's like with the Some Like It Hot number, we have about 8 more verses.
Yeah.
that
I mean,
already
at first
been
you're like,
in the
what are we going to write? How do we? And then suddenly when you have that, you figure out what the basic idea is, and then it just starts pouring out. And we have like 9 verses of Some Like It Hot, which I will gladly sing to all of you one by one. This is
But you know when it all comes together, right? You know when a
Yes,
song is working.
Yes, and then we give it to Casey.
That he sits in his living room and listens to and either cries or say, what else you got?
And often, like with Matthew Lopez,
Yeah.
we would say, would you write a monologue for what you think this song? So sometimes because that's, we get to, you know, steal from them. So.
But Terrence McNally used to do the same thing. Everybody, songwriters who worked with Terrence, they would say, what do you think this scene should be? And he'd write a synopsis or something, and then John Kander and Fred Ebb would be like, oh, I know the perfect song.
Yeah.
You know, to put in that space.
Yeah, we worked with Terrence like that.
Yeah. What was the first song you wrote for Some Like It Hot, and what's the last song you wrote for the show?
The first song, well,
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, wait, we have to. A Darker Shade of Blue, isn't it? It's a fabulous title that Scott came up with. He says, how about we call this song A Darker Shade of Blue? It's such a Ellingtonian, you know, darker shade of blue. It's
where the thing, I travel usually with a little notebook and a pad, and I had to replace a backsplash in my kitchen. So I went there to the tile store, and he said to me, well, what are you looking for? I said, well, you know what? I need a blue, but I need a darker shade of blue.
Oh my God.
Then he called me up. He said,
I said, I think I got the title of a song. So you can thank the guy at Sherman Williams. That's
That is so funny. I love it. Well, also, funnily enough, that was the first song, but also it wasn't intended to be where it is. It was intended to be Sugar's song in Act 2, and then I said, I feel like it would be so much more interesting to hear her sing a Torch song when you first meet her, because it's not really what you're used to doing. It's hearing a girl sing a Torch song in a bathroom at the beginning of a show. But it was a great way to meet her because you just felt her. And also Adrianna's voice is so incredible. And to just hear that, and it just doesn't, and what I loved about the song, it just gave me so many goosebumps because it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher and bigger. And it's just so beautiful.
But I remember Adrianna's audition. I'll always remember it because we were in the smallest room possible. And she has to sing that song. And other girls had sung it before, and some right before you, and some right after. But Casey was giving everyone the note that the first half of the song, you're in rehearsal, you're talking to your girlfriends, you're in rehearsal. And then after that instrumental, you are now in presenting the song, you are in performance. It seems like an easy note to absorb, but nobody was getting it. And then Adrianna sang it, and she's so transformed. And that was like, we were all like, that's her. That's it.
You just know when you see someone, right? Like you said, with, you know.
Yes, everyone here.
Everyone here.
And here, yes.
There's a similar story to everyone there. Yeah.
Did you all audition for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Christian did,
still
and
is.
Kevin did.
I did not.
Good to know. Good to know.
No, I had a really weird experience. I was in Disney World on vacation, and I got this cryptic text saying, "Hi, I'm Marc Shaiman, and I'd like you to record a demo of a song for this Some Like It Hot musical." And I said, yes, I know who you are. Of course, of course. He sent it to me, and I spent the rest of my vacation learning this song, singing it on the teacups and all of this stuff, screaming it out of our balcony window. And then I came and recorded this demo of this song, which is not in the show. It was like about the Hotel del Coronado or something. And I really screwed it up. It was terrible. And I thought, well, I had my chance.
No. That was the genius of Bernie Telsey. Bernie.
He was the one that gave you my number?
Yes.
Well, now I know.
Or someone who works at his office that Bernie will take the credit for. But regardless, it came from Bernie Telsey, yeah. And there, it was the same thing happened with us on Hairspray, that the first girl to walk in, me and Rob Marshall, who was at that time directing the workshops, we were at our house in L.A., and the very first girl to walk in, and we saw her hair first because she was walking up the steps into my studio, was Marissa Jarrett Winokur. And we tortured that girl for 2 years because we couldn't believe the first girl who walks in is it. But it can happen, and it really happened. Every single person here, it's like, that's it.
Because we have a lot of actors in the house, and we'll be watching this. So this is for the cast first. What is the secret to a great audition? Because the reason why I ask you that is because no one ever knows when you open that door what's going to happen in that room.
Be yourself.
Okay.
Walk in and be you. That's all they want to see in the room. And be confident in that. Make a choice, make a bold choice, and stick to it. In most auditions I've booked, it has been making a bold choice and being like, this is what you get today. And if that's not what you want, great, it's not for me. But yeah, being you is key.
Beautiful.
I think too. The last audition that I didn't prepare for was for Stanley Tucci, and I thought I could just kind of coast by on I'm just gonna kind of make some choices in the room, and I wasn't even off book, and it's to my great shame. But it was a great lesson because I felt like a fool, and he looked at me after the audition. And he was like, "You're a fine actor," and I was like, "Oh." Yo! And that was the last time that I was never completely off book for an audition. You just have to be completely off book and prepared. Don't try out a new song at an audition. It should be something that you just know so that you can walk into the room and be present with people and not be thinking about a million things. So be off book 2 weeks in advance so that you can just show up and be relaxed, would be my advice.
Whatever you need to do to connect, make sure you do that. If that means taking time away, because you're gonna, the buzz in the air is always, they're like, this person. Don't compare yourself. Just take a minute to whatever connects you and grounds you, to be yourself in the room. That's the basic, most rewarding thing to do for yourself and for the people in the room, because they want to hire you in a way. They're looking for the right person, and they're like, we hope it's you. And that's all that you can give. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can I go back too?
Yeah.
If you're off book, you can bring a book to the waiting hallway, which intimidates the hell out of people. Everyone's got their sides, and if you just pull out a book, even if you don't really read it, you're just kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a good auditioner, so don't take my advice, whatever you do. But I'd say, just show them what you can do. Don't try to convince them that you can do it. I feel like there's a fine line there, but it never goes well when you're trying to convince them that you're the guy. So.
I think this is a great question for casting people, and not necessarily for actors, maybe, because we're still just figuring it out, trying to figure it out each time. But I know for me, if the moment I stopped thinking about trying to get the job and just thought about presenting whoever I thought this character was and having fun with that, and realizing that some of these people I'm going to be in front of again, so I might as well give them who I am so that the next time maybe that's what they want, or maybe that's that familiar thing will kick in or whatever. But if I just go in the room and try to have fun at the audition and present whoever I think the character is for me, that works, and not worry about the job, because it's almost like some people say winning the room or whatever, trying to win the room so that the next time is what will count. And so for me, it's just about showing yourself and being yourself so that you feel good about that going in and getting better each time, getting better each audition.
Can I tell a
Post
quick
as a
story
job.
about,
Yes, go
about
ahead.
that in that
Well,
way?
he didn't audition.
When I was called in to audition for a show called Peter and the Starcatcher, and
For applause.
yeah, hold for applause. And I was in the waiting room. I was auditioning for Smee, and I looked at all these guys, and I was like, I would cast all of these people. They are Smee. I mean, all of them. And I walked in, and somebody here was sitting in the background watching, and I did my shtick, and they were all laughing, and they were all doing their stuff and enjoying it. I heard Rick Ellis go, "Oh, thank God." And I was like, I think I just got the role. Wow. And I walked out, and I thought, and I looked at those guys, and I was like, not today, Smees. It's gonna be me to be Smee here. But it was a great lesson that, like, it's not, you never know. You never know. You could be the one they're looking for.
And can I just get on my high horse for a second too? I do think something has happened in the last several years, and it's mostly social media based. I won't go down that road, but I think playing the long game is the better choice than hoping that the moment comes for you to be a star. Everyone wants to be a star now. I understand why. But if you're thinking about the long game, if you have a great audition, but you're just not quite right for it, they'll remember you. Yeah. And then like 5 years later, or if you're doing a reading of a musical that's not great, you show up and you work as hard as you can, and you show up on time, and you are the nicest person in the room, and you're doing a terrible show. And then 5 years later, someone says, I saw you in that terrible reading, but you were really good, and now do this. And it's just thinking about the long game, as opposed to getting disappointed that was my shot and now I'm never going to be a star.
Totally. I mean, I'll echo, just be yourself when you come in and just give us you, because that is the most important thing, and that's what we remember. And also, don't beat yourself up afterward. That's the other thing, because I was an actor, and I know that when you leave, you're like, oh my God, I messed this up or that. Usually that's not the case. It's just that someone didn't connect to you, and because someone did, I could not connect to someone, and then someone else completely connect with an actor, and that's just how it goes. But what's interesting, I have this story to tell with Adrianna, which is she came in to audition for me for Dreamgirls when I was doing Dreamgirls, and she came in for Dina, and I thought, I don't know, she's not quite Dina. And then I said, hey, can you do Laurel? And then she came in, she learned all this material, thank you for that. And then she did Laurel, and that wasn't quite right. And then I said, well, you know what, try Effie. I knew I liked her a lot. And it's what you said earlier about feeling like you're in between. And she didn't end up getting it, but I just remembered how much I liked her and how much I liked her talent, and I liked her energy in the room. And then she came in for Sugar, and I was like, that's Sugar.
Yeah, it was. I really want to talk on that too. That was an incredible experience for me at that time. I had never experienced anything like that, and feeling like, I don't quite fit this over, but we vibed so well. And then I got a call from my agent. They were like, hey, so Casey really liked you, and he's like, thinks you're really perfect for this role that's coming up. And I was like, oh, this is cute. Like, this is new. It opened my world and my mind to understanding like how this business works beyond like what, you get your basic fundamentals in college of like, you got to hustle, you got to do the A, B, C, D, and E. There's an equation to it, but there really isn't. Like, your path is your path. And there are people who have to, whatever work it is, know that it's work. Like, do the work, and it'll pay off in whatever way it's supposed to. You just have to be true to yourself and knowing that you've done everything that you could do in order to pursue your dreams and honor yourself in that. And that was an experience that just taught me that. Just showing up, I didn't feel like I was a FE. I was like, maybe I'm a D. I felt the same way he did. I was like, I'm not either one. I'm a hybrid of all three of these women. Like, that's how I felt. But it was fun. Like, I love working with him. It was just so much fun. So I hope you take that as well.
I think actors forget too is that we need you. we want you to be good. And so I often think that I hope you're good. I really want you to be good because I need you to make me better. So, and I think sometimes actors forget that when they're auditioning. I think the nerves take over. But we really need you.
And also have to think about being with you for 6 years. Believe it or not, I didn't even mean that even as a laugh. I mean, it's just, you do at a moment go, oh, is that an energy that's going to be, what's that going to be like every day at rehearsal?
Yeah.
And we know
We know.
we know about that. And that is something, so also, just remember that. And also leave as soon as possible. I often give that advice for auditions. Just make sure you have all your stuff together, maybe out in the room. Leave, because you don't want to put yourself in that awkwardness of, we all want to talk about you, and then, it's just awkward.
The worst ever. This is a quick story. When he was younger, he was the rehearsal. He was the audition pianist of all time, and he would come to auditions with people, and they would not talk to the actor. They'd only want to hire him.
That was bad. It happened a few times. Anyway.
No, but
It was something I did, but it was horrible. Then the song would end, and they go, Marc, that was unbelievable. I was like, what about her? What about her? I have to take the subway home with her.
they're like, I should have hired another pianist opposed to you. But you can tell from this company, just watching you all work on stage and the whole entire ensemble, everybody looks like they're having the time of their life up there. That by the time you get to the chase and the bows at the end, you all look like you're having the time of your life up there. You all look like you're a really fabulous, friendly family to be with 8 times a week.
Good, we fooled him.
I think so.
Good.
It worked.
No, I think that's a part of what attributes to that too is nobody was too precious about anything.
Yeah.
Everybody was so open to playing and coming in and being like, there were times when we'd come in and Casey would be like, I don't have the answer today, but give me a moment, let me come back to that thing. Or the space was made for us to bring ourselves in such a beautiful way of like what feels right in your body. What is the thing that like in this moment, Casey would have a vision, but you're like, well, what do you feel? Does that feel like the right thing for you? And so we really got to play in all of our big kids got to come out. Yeah. I feel like we are a bunch of children living dreams. And it's so beautiful to see that purity, that innocence in everyone. We all get to like tap into our little selves and go to this imaginative place and really just be free.
Yeah. What is one of your favorite moments in the show that one of the other co-stars do?
So many things.
There are so many things. For me, I love hearing Christian sing He Lied. There is something about it. There was another song that was in that place before that he did beautifully that I loved as well. But I'm like truly like a big kid again backstage listening to you, and I'm like bopping along. It was the one song on the album I couldn't wait to come out because it's just like joyous and like it's so many layers and fun and just like, yeah, I love He Lied.
I'm obsessed with NaTasha and Kevin, like everybody. I'm obsessed with everybody. Let me just say that. But the first thing that came to my mind is like NaTasha when she says, "You ruin everything." Like the way that she delivers something, y'all, it hits you so hard. You have no choice but to laugh.
You need to sweat out that tequila.
Right. You need to sweat that's mother, that's auntie that she was talking about before. And Kevin, I know that whenever Christian and I finish Dance the World Away, we come on stage and then this is the next scene for you before you sing my posa. And just seeing Kevin just dance. I'm like, oh my God, because that's the time that we can actually watch, oh my gosh, Christian and Jay, just their chemistry together with on stage, watching them interact and having to hide it from the other characters, but I peep it because, we know the show already. So it's just these little nuanced things that bring such joy to oh yeah, they're just so goofy.
The Osgood Wiggle is something special. It is the personification of joy in movement. Osgood Wiggle. Oh.
There's something NaTasha does that is my favorite, one of my favorite moments. It's so old school comedian where Christian says, I know, I'm a girl, and just Sweet Sue happens to be walking by the table and says, not at your age, honey, which is a great laugh line. But then after she goes, not at your age, honey, and then as she walks away to the other table, she's like, it's just so good.
I heard you say the girl is gone once. I broke in the middle of
if they kept our mics on the entire show, that would be the unedited version of Some Like It Hot, and that's the show you actually want to see. Because there really are full choices that are being made at all times, and there is another show that is happening that is just like so delightful. Truly.
I get to every show. I get to sit and watch and listen to both of you sing several songs, and it is an honor to see you both be so present every single time and just telling the truth every single time and be so flawless vocally every single time. 8 shows a week. It's incredible. And I also have to say, watching Kevin love Daphne with your whole heart. The way you look at Daphne. I won't give you specific moments because that's the worst thing to do. But there are things that you do that it's pure love and adoration, and it's not acting. It's easy. It is, but it's really beautiful.
I mean, my favorite part is the opening number. I don't enter for like an hour into this show, so I've got plenty of time. They all hate me for that, but Adrianna and I, she has a late entrance as well. We come down and we watch the opening number every night. And I love it. I love to hear NaTasha. I love to see these guys. I love to watch Jay because I just know, I mean, it's just like the opening moments. Like the dancers are throwing each other in the air. The energy is high. Everything is happening. These two are just starting their journey, and you just get that little sense of like, the audience has no idea what they're in for. Like, this is the beginning. The spark has started, and it just like, I love it. I love it every night.
Beautiful.
I got lots of favorite parts. I don't even know. Kevin clapping. I mean,
Yep.
I love your legs, but your clapping is ridiculously funny to me. Adrianna, after she gets the breakup news. Oh, should we not tell? Oh, they probably saw it. But anyway, after she gets that, and then that song coming out, I forgot the name of it but that's just me. That's how I do. But the finals, you're right out of the storm. That song, your performance of that song is so just heart-wrenching because I'm like, oh, she just got this news, but she got to push through, and that's that for me. Christian, just whatever, just wow. Just you never know what he's tapped into, like just acting opposite. Christian is a masterclass, crazy, don't break character, all these things happening at one time because he's so present and it could change or be a little bit different and you have to adjust to it. And it's been incredible just trying to vibe off of whatever you get. You know what I mean? What you're getting, go with that. And it'll take you to another place. So that's just extraordinary. It's not even one moment. It's just about that exchange on stage with people. It's really incredible. What can I say about Jay? I've learned his last name is G, like the alphabet. But that song, there's several. Obviously the feather, everybody knows that. That is a life-changing moment for everybody building. But I really like when y'all go to Mexico, the dance and the freeness and the fullness that you give every night is what I love about performing with Jay. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for all those. That's great. My final question for all of you, Some Like It Hot brings so much joy to audiences. I have told all of you this before. I love, when I get out of another show, I love to stand by the Schubert and watch the doors open.
Oh, wow.
And I love to watch your audience come out of the theater because you get the joy of why we all fell in love with the theater when you watch audiences come out of this theater. They've got smiles on their face. You can still hear the orchestra playing their stuff, and it just, like Broadway comes alive. So I want to thank you all for that. If you could each sum up the best part of the experience of being a part of this show, quickly what it's meant to each of you. Anybody can start.
I would say right now, just the fact that we're all sitting here right now together. That means we've done our job.
I'll second that.
Enjoyed doing it.
I just love this is the kind of show that got me interested in longing to be a musical theater performer. It is everything that I think Broadway is and should be, and that's what I'd eat every day, a slice of Some Like It Hot.
I mean, you come to the city and you think you have something to offer, and you never know if you'll get the chance to sit at the table and offer it. And then you find yourself in a room with these people, and you look around and you think, my God, like, do I belong here? I mean, these people are talented people. Like, I am obviously the weakest link in this room. What am I doing here? How did I wind up here? And then you start to realize, or they start to make you understand, you have something to offer. That thing that you came, that you thought you had to offer, now's the time to offer it. And I feel like I've gotten that chance with this show, and I'm just so grateful.
This show for me is all encompassing with like a dream that I've always had and a dream that I didn't even know I had, with just doing things that I used to think about as a kid, and also the dream of working with such great people that have stretched me, that have loved me and been so gracious towards me, and believed in me. Like, that was something that's like, yeah, that's a part of the dream as well too, that you want to have. It's been just a joy and a delight.
I'm so the uncynical and now unmasked laughter that happens backstage and in the audience. And by the way, continue to wear masks, whatever makes you comfortable. That's not a judgment. I love it. But to suddenly, after all of that hardship, to see faces again and to see them laughing so hard and to see us laughing at each other, with them, it's very, very healing. And so thank you all for that.
Beautiful.
I know.
I don't. We are all lucky to have done so many projects and to have worked with incredible people. And you never think the next one will be better than the last. And this group of human beings has been so freeing, so supportive, so beautiful in every way. And it has been a delight, a joy, and such a journey to create with these people. We knew we had something special, even if it was just for us. But for audiences to have received what we've created in such a beautiful way is the cherry on top of the sundae we had already created for ourselves. And so I'm grateful to each and every one of you for who you are, what you bring to this, what you brought out in me. And I love you.
I love you too.
For the creators, you all work in the theater. You come back year after year. I mean, there's nothing like crafting for the theater. I know it's one of the hardest things.
Even when they don't want us, sometimes.
They always want you. But like I said, it's the hardest thing. You work on TV and film too. It's a much, maybe it's an easier world. It's so hard to put a show on. And there's so much money that goes into a Broadway musical, and it's like making that cake. And you all sit in a room and you say, oh my God, we've got Casey, we've got Marc, we've got Scott, we've got this great cast, we've got Amber, we've got Matthew. But you hope you put all those pieces together and you hope your cake comes out to be perfection. You always come back to the theater. Just tell me why you continue to write for the theater.
Can't do anything else.
That's beautiful.
But also, it's for us, You have to multiply and multiply the fact that what we do, we have Charlie and Brian on orchestrations, and Mary Mitchell and Daryl and the copyists and every single musician playing every single note. I mean, there's so many people working every night, really working. So that incredible community is just so fulfilling to see everyone having their jobs to do and doing it so well.
Scott, for you.
It's lovely. It's you're in a family, you know, and you're always searching for that, and then you find it, and hopefully they stay together for a long time. So I'm very proud of that. Also, I think I'm very proud of this particular show because the very characters, if they were living now, their lives would be endangered, and I really feel that we're maybe changing a few little minds out there while also entertaining them, and I find that it touches me.
Yeah. I want to thank you all for spending the afternoon with me. I have known all of you from when Casey was a dancer, when you guys at 3 o'clock in the morning downtown, and all of you, I've watched you all become who you are. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't seen Some Like It Hot, go to the Schubert Theater. If you've seen it, go again. You'll have the time of your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richie.
Some Like It Hot.
Thank you for coming.